All right, let's go ahead now and talk about some jump instructions. And there's two jump instructions. One is jump to label, one is jump to subroutine. And right now we're going to focus on the jump instruction when we're actually jumping to a label, okay? So the jump instruction is used to jump over certain programs when certain conditions exist, meaning you have to have an input, okay? The jump jumps to the label. Okay, so your jump is an output, your label is an input. Okay, or at least it will act like an input. It will be the first thing on any rung, basically. Okay, and so, or what they refer to as your target destination. All right, again, these are located in the project or the program controls. So in RS Logix 500 and Logic Pro, you have to arrow over here, okay, to actually see that operate. Okay. Now, so how it works, and there's a lot of little things here, the jump operation program that I want you to pay attention to. Um, so, first, notice the address. This is a Q2 colon 0. This is typically assigned to the jump routine. Okay, you don't. Sometimes you have to write it in, sometimes you don't. It just kind of depends. And so this is how it would work. Rung 1 is outside of the jump. Okay, so this will not be affected. If this switch is not active, it will scan here. Nothing will happen because it won't scan the jump because this won't be logically true. This will scan, these will scan through, and everything would be fine. But if I come here and I close this switch, now I get continuity through here and it's going to jump. And it's going to jump down to the label here and keep scanning this. So four will always work, but we're jumping over 3 in this case. And we can jump over as many as we want, all right? The thing you have to realize, you say, well, that sounds just like an MCR. It's not like an MCR, okay? Because here's the thing. Let's say this is off, okay? When I activate my switch, it will stay off. But if this is on when I activate this switch here, I cannot turn this off. So it will just stay on, okay? I'll just be completely frank with you. I've had a ton of students try to use the jump to label, okay? Most of them, I encourage them not to, but I let them do it. Most of the time, it does not work out the way they imagine it will because of the idea that this will stay on, okay, when this jump is activated. Whatever's in that fence zone needs to be in the position you imagine it should be, okay, before you activate that jump. And if one's off, it can throw your whole process off. So use them sparingly. If you get good at them, they are a super powerful tool, okay? And people out there do use them. So it's important if you are going into a program to know how this jump is supposed to work, because if you don't, if you've never seen it before, it can drive you mental trying to figure out the process, okay? So let's go ahead and watch this video on how this works, okay? So everything's operating normally, okay? You can see your pilot light 2 went on. Now I'm activating the jump, okay? That's working, but this will not turn on because that jump was activated. Now it's turned off and it's ready to go, okay? They did not emphasize what I was talking about, though. The idea that that output would stay on, because if it didn't, then it would be the exact same thing as the MCR, okay? So here's an example of it jumping over something, a much greater program. And you can see here, in this case, they're using, this limit switch right here to, I'm sorry, oops, underline the wrong one. Use this to activate the jump routine, okay? And then this will jump all the way down to here. So it would skip this entire part of the process, okay? Now, people tend to think of this as a linear item, okay, which I think throws people off. They're imagining like a conveyor belt with a bunch of actions happening. And so they think like, oh, I'll just jump over those actions. Programs are rarely programs are really programs are very rarely done in that method, okay, where they're very linear in their programming. So be cautious, okay? Use them, try them, find their strengths, find their weaknesses, but just understand that they do have their weaknesses. And you have to, when you're programming with these, you want to run every different scenario to make sure that you're comfortable with them, okay? All right. Now, the other thing you can do, okay, and I want to note a couple of things here, and I've actually never seen this done in a program, but I know it can be. One, you can have multiple jumps, okay, and people who like jumps, they're jump crazy, okay, but here you can see this is Q2 5, okay, so there's obviously some other jumps in there, or this is a jump in a subroutine, not to a subroutine, but in a subroutine, and they're identifying it, with a different number here. And so what we're going to do is you'll notice that there are two of them here, okay? And so it's jumping to the same label. So when input 1 is on, it will skip over these, okay? When when A is false and D is true, it will just skip this line here, okay? So the one last thing I want to talk about with the jump to subroutines is you have to be very aware of where you're jumping into. If you have multiple jumps and your label here, for example, is trying to jump into a zone that is turned off, it can cause some major scan times issue, and they can actually fault your program out, okay, which we do not want. We do not want your program faulting out. That is bad. Okay, so you have to be aware of that. Okay, so just be cautious. Again, try them, but be cautious with them. Okay.